This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron jointly inaugurate first Indian consulate in the historic French city of Marseille. India and France launch logo for the Year of Innovation 2026 to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the signing of the first cultural agreement between India and France in 1966. China's military conduct naval and air patrols around Taiwan to combat readiness following US Navy ships transit through the Taiwan Strait. And we begin this broadcast with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's France visit. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to France has been marked by an exceptional display of camaraderie and respect from President Emmanuel Macron, showcasing the strength of their bilateral relationship. We now take a look at how the two leaders share this very special bond which has grown over the years.
In the world of diplomacy, friendships are rare. But the bond between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron is a shining exception. Their recent meeting in France once again highlighted the strength of this partnership, built on mutual trust, strategic collaboration, and a personal camaraderie that transcends official ties. The embrace, the smiles, and the easy conversation set the tone for yet another chapter in the growing rapport. The visit wasn't just about gestures. It was about shaping the future. Co-chairing the Artificial Intelligence Action Summit, the two leaders reinforced their shared vision for AI's role in global progress. Beyond policy discussions, their personal connection was evident. From casual conversations to light-hearted moments, their chemistry reflected a friendship that has only strengthened over the years. In Marseille, the warmth of their bond extended to the people. Welcomed by an enthusiastic Indian diaspora, their joint presence symbolized the growing ties between India and France, not just at the government level, but at a people-to-people level. This isn't the first time Modi and Macron have displayed such bonhomie. From their heartfelt meetings at global summits to Bastille Day celebrations in 2023, their partnership has grown into a true alliance of trust and shared ambitions. As Modi's visit to France concludes, one thing is clear. This isn't just about diplomacy. It's a friendship that continues to shape the future of global cooperation. And with leaders who believe in the power of partnership, the best is yet to come. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron met and interacted with the members of the Indian diaspora in Marseille. Prime Minister Modi was received with a heartwarming welcome by the Indian diaspora outside the newly inaugurated Indian Consulate in Marseille. He was warmly received along with the French President Macron. The Indian Consulate was jointly inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi and French President Macron. And earlier, after wrapping up the Paris leg of his three-day visit to France, India's Prime Minister Modi reached the French port city of Marseille. Prime Minister Modi and French President Macron paid tribute to the Indian soldiers who lost their lives in the line of duty during the World Wars at Mazak War Cemetery in Marseille. This is a war cemetery that is maintained by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. Also at the airport, Prime Minister Modi was accorded a guard of honor. President Macron was present on the occasion. Taking to social media, post on X, Prime Minister Modi paid homage to freedom fighter V.D. Savarkar, who attempted a courageous escape at the French port city of Marseille. He spoke about how Marseille holds a special significance in India's quest for freedom. He thanked the people of Marseille and the French activists of the time who demanded that Savarkar not be handed over to the British. He also spoke about the bravery of Veer Savarkar that continues to inspire generations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, jointly visited the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor in Doordarshan. This was the first visit by any head of state or head of the government to ITER, one of the most ambitious fusion energy projects in the world today. During the visit, the leaders appreciated the progress of ITER, including the assembly of the world's largest tokamak, where ultimately 500 megawatt of fusion power will be produced by creating, containing and controlling burning plasma. The leaders also appreciated the dedication of the ITER engineers and scientists working on the project. India, notably, is among the 7 ITER members contributing to the project over the last 2 decades. Around 200 Indian scientists and associates, as well as notable industry players such as Larsen & Toubro, Inox India, TCS, TCE, HCL Technologies, among others, are engaged in the ITER project. And earlier, upon his arrival at his hotel in Marseille, Prime Minister Modi received a rousing welcome from the Indian diaspora. The Indian diaspora in Marseille expressed happiness after meeting with the Prime Minister Modi.
We are very happy and thank you Modi ji for opening this and giving us a New Year gift.
It was a very unrealistic moment for us. We didn't feel like we are far from home because we are amongst Indians and it feels very nice being here.
Yeah, even for me as a student, like it was a precious moment for us to meet Narendra Modi ji, like from nearby. Even like we just shake hands with them, and it was good.
In an international environment, having him here, having all these people here has only been great.
I would say that it was such a great honor for us to be able to meet him up close today here, and I'm really hoping that the opening of the new consulate here will actually help us a lot in like exchanging cultures and celebrating more festivals together and meeting fellow Indians often, so that we don't feel away from home.
I'm very happy to see our master trio, our PM, NSA and External Affairs Minister. I'm really happy for seeing them in person, and I'm feeling a homely environment here.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us this wonderful opportunity to meet you here.
DD India's Jessica Taneja joining us live from Marseille in France to talk about. Hi there, Jessica. Now, I'm just going to hand it over to you to take us through the substance and the symbolism attached to Prime Minister's visit, particularly his engagements at the Marseille to begin with.
Well, as you see, we're at the heart of the city, Sakal, and it's a wonderful day in Marseille today. It's usually rainy around this time, but it's sunny as the Prime Minister is here, busy with the engagement with the French President, taking the relationship between India and France to greater heights, especially when it comes to tech innovation. They both just co-chaired the AI summit, and perhaps an extended visit here at Marseille implies the significance of this relationship in terms of what Marseille has to offer. The second largest city, and perhaps the port city of Marseille, is an important strategic point when it comes to India and EU trade, not just France. And you're looking at a potential entry and exit point as well when it comes to the India, Middle East, Europe corridor. And that level, of course, the level of enhancement of the trade ties between the two. Let's also bring our viewers up to date about the Prime Minister's visit here. Apart from what we witnessed in Paris was historical in more ways than one. A declaration was signed on AI collaboration, as well as making sustainable and secure AI. The second component of the visit did focus a lot on the civil nuclear cooperation as well. As you and I speak, the Prime Minister and President did visit the International Thermonuclear Reactor experimental site. Now, we were there and we did see firsthand how the Indian engineers have been contributing to that project, not just from today, but it has been quite a few years. India joined ITER back in 2006. And with the contributions, let me also point out on how we've seen further progress, starting with cryostat machines, which are so essential when it comes to harnessing energy through nuclear fusion. And when we talk about nuclear fusion, there are various experiments conducted, and this perhaps is one of the biggest projects in the world to sort of have that clean, limitless energy when it comes to producing power through controlled nuclear fusion reactions. So, of course, that work and that assembly process is in place, where Indian engineers have been able to bring in that 4,000 tons of the cryostat machine, which came in 52 phases, and many Indian companies, the likes of Doordarshan and Tubro, along with Enox, have contributed significantly. Their engineers have been at it for 6 years. And it only goes on to highlight the cooperation between the two. Looking back at home as well, there had been concerns about the Jaitapur power plant in Maharashtra. Now we're seeing progress. We've heard from the Foreign Secretary as well just a short while ago, who said there are a lot of things are being sorted on that front to provide India with the clean, efficient energy moving forward, and this collaboration now moving towards tech innovation, also student exchanges, which President Macron had promised back when he visited, remember, to New Delhi last year. In Jaipur, he had made that announcement. So lots that was firmed up, if one can say so, in this visit, Sakar.
Yes, you were also in fact present in that presser, Jessica. Besides the response to your question, also here, if you could just quickly take us through the 4 key declaration of intent that have been inked between the two countries, particularly the sectors that you mentioned.
That's correct. We're talking about small modular reactors and advanced modular reactors, and this is very essential, especially when it aligns with India's ambitions of being a leading innovation, in a sense, when it comes to artificial intelligence. Although with the French collaboration, where we've seen that such tech innovations have been provided with fertile ground, not just today, but time and time again. And for that, you need heavy data centers. So with the requirement of those heavy data centers, AI, of course, would work on the back end of technology, and technology certainly requires energy and power. So with those AMRs and SMRs now going to be co-jointly produced, as well as develop those technologies, will be worked together with the French scientists as well, is certainly a direction moving forward for both the countries, where the India-France innovation year will be celebrated next year. And as you heard from the outcomes as well, from what the Foreign Secretary had said, that India will be hosting the summit next year, which will be very crucial. Apart from that, we're also given to understand that the Prime Minister and the French President also spoke about how India's bid for the 2036 Olympics, and France would be supporting it since they've successfully hosted the Olympics as well as the Paralympics and such big game events. Of course, India back home would also see, the kind of interaction and the kind of movement when we talk about such initiatives is perhaps monumental when it comes to France assisting and France collaborating together with us.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jessica, right now for joining us live from Marseille and taking us through the significance and the crucial outcomes of Prime Minister Modi's visit to France. Thank you. India's Jessica Taneja. And now India's Foreign Secretary, as Jessica also mentioned, Vikram Misri, highlighted the two key components of Prime Minister Modi's visit to France in the press briefing, stating that the visit included the AI summit in Paris, which Prime Minister Modi co-chaired with French President, along with bilateral component which spanned both Paris and Marseille. The Secretary emphasized that the past 2 days have been packed with high-level engagements, reflecting the strength of India-France relationship.
The current visit of the Prime Minister has two components. As you are aware, he was here to co-chair the Artificial Intelligence Action, AI Action Summit in Paris yesterday. And then there was a bilateral component to the visit, both in Paris and in Marseille yesterday as well as today. The last couple of days have been packed with a number of engagements.
India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri also highlighted the bilateral component of Prime Minister Modi's visit to France, which began with Prime Minister Modi and French President Macron jointly addressing the India-France CEOs Forum.
Bilateral component of the visit started with the two leaders jointly addressing the India-France CEOs Forum. The Prime Minister acknowledged the key role being played by business leaders in both countries in bringing our two countries closer together and promoting our bilateral relations. He gave an overview of the next generation of economic reforms that's being pursued in India, invited French companies to explore new opportunities in the India growth story.
Prime Minister Modi's visit to France has been marked by extraordinary gestures of friendship from French President Emmanuel Macron. A unique aspect of the Modi visit to France has been the time and respect given by President Macron to him. In fact, on the day one, on the first day, President Macron spent time with Prime Minister Modi at the dinner hosted by him. The camaraderie continued into the next day as well at the Artificial Intelligence Action Summit, where India and France co-hosted the big event, demonstrating their close ties. Well, India-France CEOs Forum together also reflected the shared vision for economic collaboration and convergences in various aspects. And now it's time to take a look at the vast list of outcomes from Prime Minister's ongoing 3-day visit to France. In the area of technology and innovation in India-France Declaration on Artificial Intelligence, also the launch of the logo for India-France Year of Innovation 2026, letter of intent between Department of Science and Technology, Government of India and France is to establish Indo-French Center for the Digital Sciences, agreement for hosting 10 Indian startups at the French Startup Incubator Station, particularly in the area of civil nuclear energy. These are the declarations. Declaration of intent for establishment of partnership on advanced modular reactors and small modular reactors. Also renewal of MOU between Department of Atomic Energy, India and France. Implementation of the agreement between DAE of India and CEA of France. Now moving on to the area of sustainable development. Joint declaration of intent on triangular development cooperation. In the area of culture, joint inauguration of India's Consulate in Marseille. Moving on to the area of environment, declaration of intent signed between the Ministry for the Ecological Transition, Biodiversity, Forests, Marine Affairs and Fisheries and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. To talk about the overall deliverables attached to Prime Minister Modi's visit to France and to examine the outcomes and what makes these outcomes historic and unprecedented in some ways, we are very glad to be joined by Dr. Sheetal Sharma, from Centre for European Studies in JNU, National Capital New Delhi. Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Such a pleasure talking to you, ma'am. An overview of the visit and what makes this special. We will first focus on the bilateral aspect and then we go on to the summit and the rest of it.
Sakal, if you start with the bilateral aspect of the visit, France is one such country with whom India has been having a wonderful relationship for a long period of time. We have a strategic partnership since 2004. And I said many a times that this is one of the most understated bilateral relationship that we have with any country in Europe. Why I say so? The reason is that there is no possible point of difference or irritant in our relationship, and yet this relationship has been very warm, cordial, and running smooth in the positive direction and always moving forward. Now, what are the core areas in which we see that how France and India relationship has been very positive and has been very yielding for both the countries? The first is that what we see also the outcome of this particular visit by the Prime Minister this time. Everything revolves around the mutual interest, mutual growth and development. And in that, India tends to gain a lot because of the kind of vision that India has for the next 20, 30 years. And by the time we achieve 100 years of our independence in 2047. So look at the vision that we have of Atmanirbharta or Make in India or all these flagship programs of the Prime Minister and his dream of making India a developed country in the next couple of decades. So in those set of circumstances, who helps us the best? And there are
these are the visuals of Prime Minister Modi's departure from France. He's accompanied by French President Emmanuel Macron after successfully concluding his 3-day visit to France. The visit, which had the bilateral component and many deliverables attached, including India and France co-hosting a very crucial AI summit. AI summit in Paris, co-chaired by France and India, followed by bilateral component which spanned both the Paris city to the port city of Marseille. Prime Minister Modi spent 2 days packed with high-level engagements, which only took the relationship between India and France to next level. India and France have inked various letter of intent or mutual declarations in key sectors, strengthening their ties across key sectors. Prime Minister Modi, along with French President Macron, inspecting the Guard of Honor as he concludes his France visit. High-level delegation led by French President Emmanuel Macron, seeing off Prime Minister, and once again the bonhomie and the camaraderie between the two leaders visible on your screens. The mutual love, the mutual respect and the bond that has clearly transcended the contours of diplomacy. Prime Minister Modi concluding his visit to France. And that's a little conversation taking place between the two leaders. And there you have French President Emmanuel Macron doing namaste as a gesture of departure as Prime Minister Modi e-planes. His next stop over being United States of America, inspecting the Guard of Honor there at Marseille. As he concludes his France visit today, he also addressed the CEOs of Forum, visit to Mazak Cemetery as a tribute to the Indian fallen heroes or soldiers of the World War who laid their lives during the line of duty. And then visit to the ITER as well. On your screens, visuals of Prime Minister Modi's departure from France where he's being accompanied by President Macron and accorded the Guard of Honor as well. This visit clearly has been marked by some extraordinary gestures of friendship between the two leaders, French President Macron and Prime Minister Modi. From co-hosting the Artificial Intelligence Summit to demonstrating their close ties and bonhomie when the two leaders jointly inaugurated the Indian Consulate. And then they also hosted the India-France CEOs of Forum together, clearly reflecting their shared vision for economic collaboration to move to next level in times to come. In another extraordinary gesture of friendship that they share, President Macron and Prime Minister Modi travelled together, which once again reflects their joint camaraderie. They travelled together in a joint motorcar in the same plane to Marseille today earlier. President Macron also hosted Prime Minister Modi for a working dinner in Marseille again immediately upon landing. And on your visuals, the two leaders bidding adieu, at least at this juncture, till they meet again. A warm handshake, symbolic of warming of ties, and those smiles and a firm handshake there, sealing it all, with President Macron saying goodbye with namaste and Prime Minister returning the gesture. And as we stay with these visuals, let's continue talking to Sheetal Sharma. Ma'am, we were talking about the bilateral and the diplomatic part to it, but then for a moment, as we stay with these visuals, I think what, according to you as an expert, you know, the relationship that both leaders share is also one of the talking points. And we have seen on multiple occasions President Macron accompanying Prime Minister, taking Prime Minister in his own plane, jointly inaugurating the consulate. There's this camaraderie, I think, has gone, the diplomatic bond, so to say. Would you say that? I mean, this relationship is clearly special for both of them. Dr. Sharma.
The two heads of the states are meeting and how they are showing this to the world, that there is so much of potential there in order to explore for the future, and at the same time how they have been continuing this wonderful relationship for a long period of time. What we were discussing prior to these visuals was that France has been an all-weather friend to India, no matter whether this is about the Indo-US nuclear deal at that point of time when France was supporting India's entry for India's going ahead with the deal, or you talk about India's stake to the membership in the UN Security Council, or whatever, France has always been helping and supporting India at global forums. And this is why France is a big power. This is why it is very important that India gains that kind of confidence from a very trusted partner. And over the decades, in the last particularly 10-15 years, much has changed for India on the global chessboard. And sensing the calculus, the way things are happening between India, France, then India, EU, and in the global world order, how things are changing, it makes sense for us also. And it is very useful for us to have partners like France. Why? Because at one level, we have a very strong bilateral relationship with one of the top powers of the European Union. Number two, at the European Union level, how EU now is expanding and looking for trade partners or for development, science, technology, innovation, you name it, and you have it with France. And number three, that how, the countries, two countries, and I would particularly say India and France here, they can support each other. They can present a consolidated front where India is a leader of the global South, France represents the West. And in that case, how the world rivalries are opening up, the fault lines over the world are opening up with change in administration in the United States and China this side. So in that case, when there is a lot of chaos or some disturbances are emerging, at that point of time, it's very good to have sensible partners, those who mean business, those who talk business, those who are trusted, and those who can actually help you in order to attain or achieve your goals of development, rather than unnecessarily dragging you into international conflicts or regional differences. So that is why I again reiterate the fact that despite the fact that we have been having a very good, formal, cordial, long relationship, we have somehow not been able to identify, the worth, the significance of this relationship. But at the same time, there are certain things where there is need for greater enhancement of the level of partnership, say in terms of trade. One thing, we have almost 20 to 22 billion USD, trade with France, and this is not very impressive, I would say. So there is a scope for improving that. France is also an important trading partner in the field of defense equipment, and now we are in need for that with military modernization and all. It makes sense for us to hold greater, strength and closeness with France. The third one is the cultural cooperation that has come time and again in discussion about the Indian diaspora, their education, science, technology, and innovation. And particularly the fourth one, which was the highlight of the visit also, AI Summit.
Yeah.
That how together, India, France, we already have International Solar Alliance, and France and India are collaborating in the field of renewable energy a lot. In order to meet our energy requirements in future for development and meeting our developmental goals, it is very paramount for India to have at least, a strong position in two areas. One is energy, and the other one science, technology, and AI.
Okay.
Why AI? Because once again, the great power rivalry is also.
That was my next question. So now let's break it a little further. We first talk about the AI here, because I think, do you think that has been the AI summit, jointly hosting AI summit, has been central to this entire visit, considering the AI war that we see between the West and China? And here India comes and talks about the need for sovereignty, security, safety, transparency, and collaborating with France and telling the whole world that, look, we're on the same page. How do you see there? Because yesterday, in his opening remarks, the way Prime Minister talked about brand India AI, relating AI to aspirational India, he made a very strong case for India at that World Forum.
Sakal, this is very important to be placed in a context in which AI war is unfolding now. We had, US dominance for a long period of time, but then suddenly DeepSeek comes, and over a small period of time only, this has shaken markets and even the trust factor. Now, day before yesterday, and gradually it is going to become much more a news that how much can you trust DeepSeek, because it is taking too much of information from people. Now, AI is certainly an advantageous position for all of us, but at the same time, there are issues of data mining, data being sold here and there, and data being misused for the people. EU in that regard is very strong player with strong regulatory frameworks for data protection and data security. But at the same time, there's the other aspect of AI, is that how much do we have in innovation, rather than entering into this rivalry of, who has greater power in the field of AI. India and France share a common vision and interest in order to develop artificial intelligence for the progress of the humanity. That is how it would help in the field of education, in health sector, in agriculture, in forecasting, and all those things that you can imagine related to AI. The third aspect is that this progress of humanity is dependent upon that how much.
Okay, let's try.
Cost for the global south also. Coming out from the G20 summit last year, which India hosted, in the sense that how India holds a leadership position for global south, and in that case, how India can be a strong link between the West and create conduits for the global south and less developed countries to take advantage of AI, the low cost AI innovations. And this is where India has the capacities. And along with the scientific and developmental and technological framework of France, the two leaders have clearly shown that this is about trust, this is about authenticity, this is not about something which are the negative outcomes of AI, but something which is related to innovation, trust, dependability, and how we can actually bring AI into everyday life of common man.
That's about AI. Ma'am, one final question. How do you sum up this visit in terms of many firsts, although some of them could be symbolic in nature, that have been associated with it, more high on substance, of course?
Yes, of course, this visit has been more high on substance, and this is less of hype and more of hope. Right. Hope in the sense, I would not say that we are thinking about something. We are already on the track of having a very strong collaboration, cooperation with France on many fronts. Particularly, this visit has once again reiterated the fact that India needs to be, first of all, recognized as a global power. Number two, as a leader of the global south. Number three, a strong player in the upcoming field of AI. Number four, it has to be seen not in terms of the rivalry that the world is facing in terms of regional powers or global powers, but in the sense of that to us, development means sensible development rather than talking about hegemony or delegitimizing the positions of others. Number four, India is now much more strong in order to occupy the global high tables, no matter it is about the international multilateral forums or even the bilateral relations. So India has arrived. India is assertive. India means business. India means growth, development. And this is what Prime Minister Modi is absolutely and aptly presented to the world, showing the camaraderie that he had with French President. And once again, in the broader EU dynamics, France holds a very important position for us also and for EU also. And if in case we have good relations with France, that means, a positive outcome or a significant outcome for both of us.
A crucial gateway to EU for India, but more significantly, what India does, what India thinks, and India's relationship with France is what matters to France as well, as is visible by many unprecedented gestures, displayed by President Macron, by accompanying Prime Minister Modi on multiple occasions during his engagement. On that note, thank you very much, Dr. Sheetal, for joining us. Such a pleasure, ma'am. Thanks. Thank you for joining. And yes, now let's move on, and after wrapping up the France leg of his visit, Prime Minister Modi is headed to United States for a two-day visit. The visit aims to herald a renewed and substantive Indo-US partnership with issues ranging from trade to tariffs to immigration, and strengthening strategic ties are likely to figure in the Modi-Trump talks. DD India's team, comprising of Amritpal Singh and Shubedhu Ghosh, our senior correspondents, report from Washington, D.C.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi lands at Maryland's Joint Base Andrews on Thursday, he will be one of the first few global leaders to meet the US President Donald Trump early in his second presidency. The early visit signals a strategic push to strengthen India-US ties under the new administration.
The Prime Minister has been invited to visit the US within barely 3 weeks of the new administration taking office, shows the importance of the India-US partnership and is also reflective of the bipartisan support that this partnership enjoys in the United States.
Key discussions would include defense ties, trade tariffs, and investment.
While the Trump administration engages in tariff tussles with a number of allies and adversaries, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will look to iron out the strains and consolidate on the gains in the India-US trade partnership. This time, the partnership could be deepened in the domain of energy, defense, and critical technologies.
For both countries, the stakes are high as the bilateral trade stands at $118 billion, with a surplus of about $32 billion in India's favor in 2023. Strengthening security and defense ties will also be discussed in Washington, D.C. Potential purchases of weapon systems and technology, including the Stryker military vehicles and the Javelin anti-tank missiles, could figure in the talks.
When Prime Minister Modi comes visiting the White House on Thursday, apart from trade and immigration, the focus of the Modi-Trump talks would be on strengthening the defense ties, fast-tracking military acquisitions, and joint production of weapon systems, especially strengthening the strategic partnership in the Indo-Pacific. With my colleague Shobhendu Ghosh and cameraman S. Jaishankar, this is Amritpal Singh in Washington, D.C.
And still to come on DT India News Hour. Coming up next, this is what we have for you. China's military conducts naval and air patrols around Taiwan for combat readiness. And US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth arrives in Brussels as part of a week-long trip to Germany, Belgium and Poland.
Timeless, boundless and infinite, the essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic, world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Mahakumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
You're watching DT India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Germany's trade surplus with the US has reached a record level according to the latest official data. And that could make Europe's largest economy even more vulnerable to any potential US tariffs. And to talk about that, we are joined by DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu in Berlin. Hi Chiponda, thanks for joining us from Berlin. Can you break down and explain to us the latest Germany-US trade figures, the numbers that we have?
Thanks for having me. Well, Germany's trade surplus with the United States grew to 70 billion euros last year. Now, that is around 10% higher than the previous record, which was set in 2023. The latest figures are nothing to celebrate here in Germany because it means that Europe's biggest economy could find itself potentially even more vulnerable to any US tariffs. And the timing couldn't be worse. Last year, Germany was the only G7 economy that posted an economic contraction for 2 consecutive years. And its economy is projected to shrink 0.3% this year, according to the country's economy ministry. With the United States being its main trading partner, and as an export-dependent economy, Germany is especially vulnerable to any US tariffs.
Having said that, what has been the effect of Trump's latest tariff announcements?
Well, the news of the 25% tariffs on imported steel and aluminum in the United States won't be too painful for Germany's economy. It could only make a tiny dent, and one estimate says it could knock off about 0.03% of Germany's GDP. Now, that would amount to 1.22 billion euros. And that is because, of course, less than 10% of Germany's steel and aluminum is exported to the United States. The impact is, of course, comparably much bigger for the US's neighboring countries, Mexico and Canada. They, of course, have much closer trade ties, and we've seen that already. Even tariffs on Canada and Mexico can hurt European companies. For instance, President Trump's threat to impose 25% tariffs on auto imports from Canada and Mexico could even harm German car makers because they rely heavily on the US's neighboring countries for production.
So how prepared is the EU for President Trump's tariffs?
The European Union has said it will retaliate to President Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the unjustified tariffs cannot go unanswered. Of course, we will get to see whether and how Brussels responds if those tariffs do take effect on March 12. There's already been reports that the EU has prepared a list of US products that it can slap with retaliatory tariffs. And it wouldn't be the first time. During President Trump's first term in 2018, the EU retaliated with its own tariffs on many US products. Today, EU trade ministers are holding a video call in which they will discuss how to respond in a trade conflict. Now, the United States and the European Union have the world's largest trade relationship. It was worth $1.5 trillion in 2023. So a trade dispute between those economies would harm both of them, as experts have already warned. But the bloc has been here before during Trump's first presidency, and this time, Brussels won't be caught by surprise.
China's military conducted naval and air patrols around Taiwan on Wednesday for combat readiness following U.S. Navy ships' transit through the Taiwan Strait earlier this week. The drills were shown on Chinese state TV with naval ships and fighter jets in action. China reacted angrily to the U.S. mission, saying it raised security risk. The U.S. Navy regularly transits the strait, which China claims as its own, while Taiwan's defense ministry reported the situation was normal. Taiwan remains a potential flashpoint in U.S.-China tensions. In other news, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has arrived in Brussels as part of a week-long trip to Germany, Belgium and Poland. During his visit, Hegseth is set to attend a NATO defense ministers meeting in Brussels, where defense spending is expected to be a key focus. According to the Defense Secretary, Hegseth seeks to strengthen deterrence, support for warfighters and advancing national security interests. In other news, on the sidelines of the Aero India, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held bilateral meetings. The Defence Minister met his Zimbabwean counterpart Upa Muchiguri Kashiri and signed an MOU to enhance bilateral defence cooperation. Minister Rajnath Singh conducted the meeting with Yemen's Defence Minister Lieutenant General Mohsen Mohammad Hussein Al-Diyari. The Defence Minister also held meeting with Ethiopia's Defence Minister Aisha Mohammed and signed an MOU to institutionalize their growing defence relationship. With Gambian Defence Minister Sering Mudu Nije, Minister Rajnath Singh committed to strengthening cooperation underlying opportunities for collaboration in the defence industry. Lastly, in discussions with Gabon's Defence Minister Brigitte Okonova, both leaders focused on training and capability enhancement, aiming to deepen defence cooperation further. India's net direct tax collection grew 14.69% to over 17.78 lakh crore to far in the current fiscal 2024-25. According to data released by the Central Board of Direct Taxes, the mop-up from the net non-corporate taxes, which include mainly personal income tax, grew 21% year-on-year to about 9.48 lakh crore. The net corporate tax collection rose more than 6% to over 7.78 lakh crore between April 1, 2024 and April 10, 2025. The net collections from securities transaction tax jumped 65% to 49,201 crore so far in financial year 2025. Refunds worth more than 4.10 lakh crore were issued during this period. And you're watching DD India News Hour. It's time now for some sports news. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday hailed two-time Olympic medalist in javelin throw Neeraj Chopra, who fought obesity to remain healthy. Neeraj, in his article in a newspaper, wrote that one need not to be an athlete or a fitness enthusiast to simply be healthy. The fight against obesity is something all have to face head-on, and that Prime Minister Modi's message about fighting obesity is crucial in today's context, and we all need to support Prime Minister's vision to make India fitter. Prime Minister Modi took to social media platform X and wrote, and I quote, "An insightful and motivating piece by Neeraj Chopra which reiterates the need to fight obesity and remain healthy," unquote. India have put up a formidable total of 356 all out in the third and final ODI against England in Ahmedabad on Wednesday. Shubham Gill led from the front with fluent 112, while Virat Kohli and Shreyas Iyer scored half tons in their final outing before the Champions Trophy. Gill stitched together two vital ton partnerships. He added 116 runs with Kohli and 104 with Iyer, with captain Rohit Sharma was just dismissed for just 1 run. Leg spinner Adil Rashid was pick of the bowlers, scalping 4 wickets, while Mark Wood bagged 2 wickets. India have taken an unbeaten 2-0 lead in the 3-match series. The Indian Cricket Board (BCCI) has confirmed that India's pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah has been ruled out of India's squad for the Champions Trophy. Bumrah's absence leaves a major gap in India's pace attack, as he has been a key bowler or performer in the bowling lineup. 31-year-old has been out of action since the final innings of the last Test match of the Border Gavaskar Trophy, where he was not able to bowl due to a back issue. The 23-year-old pacer Harshit Rana, in fact, was named as Bumrah's replacement in the final 15-man squad. Young opener Yashasvi Jaiswal was also left out of the finals squad, with the 33-year-old mystery spinner Varun Chakravarti being named or replacing him. And that's all we have for you in this edition of DT India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DT India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DT India. I'm Sakal Bhatin from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DT India News Hour.
Clean energy is the future for sure. We are still not able to produce enough energy through renewable sources yet. But why is it so, and how can we change that?
We introduced solar-powered street lights, cutting consumption by 5%. Then I had the government build green homes fitted with solar panels, making us more energy independent.
The panels contain a lot of rare commodities, and you can save a lot of energy if you use recycled materials.
We run off hydropower or wind power, so the electricity we have is sustainable and renewable. So of course that's the most sustainable we can do.
When it transforms and translates into results,